That regime needs to be eliminated to save our children and grandchildren from having to deal with it.
We were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact.
قوی‌ترین ارتش دنیا ممکنه اونچنان گاهی سیلی بخوره که از جا نتوانه برنش.
The best answer to all the problems created by Iran is regime change.
The most heavily fortified square mile in the Middle East just became a killing zone. For 47 years, the Islamic Republic of Iran has projected an image of absolute, untouchable control. They built walls of concrete and fear around their leaders, believing they were invincible. But that illusion just shattered into a million pieces. Monday, February 23, 2026. The headquarters of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a fortress defended by 8,000 elite guards, was breached. Explosions rocked the Pasteur District. Gunfire erupted inside the inner sanctum of the regime. And for 12 terrifying hours, armed fighters from the People's Mojahedin Organization of Iran, or MEK, turned the Supreme Leader's doorstep into a battlefield. This is not a protest. This is not a riot fueled by angry students. This is the opening shot of a violent, coordinated coup d'etat. The regime is not just cracking, it is fighting for its life inside its own capital. To understand the magnitude of this event, you have to look at the timeline and the geography. It began at 6 a.m. local time in Tehran. The city was waking up, but the Pasteur District, the nerve center of the Iranian government, was already at war. For those who don't know, the Pasteur District is not just a neighborhood. It is Iran's equivalent of the Green Zone in Baghdad or the Kremlin in Moscow. It is a city within a city, sealed off from the public by checkpoints, blast walls, and surveillance cameras. It houses the office of the Supreme Leader, the Presidency, and the Supreme National Security Council. It is supposed to be the safest place in the Islamic Republic. According to regime-affiliated sources, simultaneous explosions hit two critical targets inside this iron cage, the residence of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and the headquarters of the Supreme National Security Council. These are not soft targets. They are surrounded by 4-meter-high prefabricated reinforced concrete walls, topped with anti-drone nets and anti-projectile barriers. They are designed to withstand a military siege or a localized nuclear blast. Yet a highly coordinated force of MEK fighters punched through. They didn't just climb the walls, they breached the outer perimeter using military-grade tactics. Then they breached the secondary perimeter. By 10:30 a.m., residents in central Tehran looked up to see 3 regime helicopters scrambling low over the complex, firing heavy machine guns on positions inside the compound. The fighting was so intense that it lasted until Monday afternoon, over 12 hours of continuous urban combat inside the regime's seat of power. The casualty numbers are staggering. Reports indicate that more than 100 MEK fighters were killed or captured during the suicide assault. They fought to the death. But here is the statistic that terrifies the Ayatollahs and keeps the IRGC commanders awake at night. Another 150 fighters who had successfully secured positions in the second security ring managed to withdraw and vanish back into the city by midnight. Let that sink in. 150 armed operatives infiltrated the heart of the regime, engaged the elite guard for hours, and then melted away into the shadows of Tehran. They hit the king, and they got away. This brings us to the most critical question. How? How does an armed militia penetrate the most guarded location on Earth? The security architecture around Khamenei is massive. It is guarded by 2 specific units, the Vali-e-Amr Protection Corps and the Ansar al-Mahdi Corps. We are talking about nearly 8,000 personnel from various intelligence and military units responsible for protecting just this one complex. That is more security manpower than the US President, the UK Prime Minister, and the French President have combined. The overall command belongs to IRGC Brigadier General Hassan Mashrawi Far. Under his watch, 2,000 elite guards form the innermost ring, the kill zone meant to vaporize any threat within seconds. These are not conscripts. These are ideological zealots trained to die for the supreme leader. Yet the attackers got within shouting distance of Khamenei's bedroom. This level of failure suggests only one possibility: inside help. You do not breach 3 layers of concrete, evade thermal sensors, and bypass biometric locks with just AK-47s. You need codes, you need shift schedules, you need someone on the inside opening the gates. This proves that the rot has spread to the very core of the IRGC. The call is coming from inside the house. But why now? To understand the ferocity of this attack, you have to look back at the horrors of January 2026. Just 1 month ago, the regime committed a massacre that makes the 1979 revolution look bloodless. When hundreds of thousands of Iranians took to the streets on January 8th and 9th, Khamenei didn't use tear gas or rubber bullets. He ordered a slaughter. Leaked documents obtained from the Supreme National Security Council, classified top secret, reveal a directive personally annotated by Khamenei himself. It authorized the IRGC to use lethal force to kill as many people as needed to maintain power. And they did. Activists have documented over 6,700 protesters shot dead in just 48 hours. The regime turned Tehran into a morgue to save itself. But blood demands blood. The assault on the Khamenei compound was not a terrorist attack, it was a retaliation. The opposition is no longer marching with signs, they are marching with rifles. They are targeting the police, the Revolutionary Guard centers, and now the supreme leader himself. The barrier of fear has been incinerated by the grief of thousands of families. And while Tehran burns, Washington is watching with eagle eyes. Intelligence reports suggest that U.S. President Donald Trump has been presented with updated military options that include the targeted decapitation of the Iranian leadership. Sources confirm that plans to eliminate both Ali Khamenei and his son Mojtaba Khamenei are currently on the president's desk. The regime knows this. In fact, prior to Monday's attack, Khamenei had already instructed his advisor Ali Larijani to form a contingency plan for the regime's survival in the event of his assassination. This creates a deadly pincer movement. On the outside, you have the U.S. military, the carrier strike groups, and the threat of a decapitation strike. On the inside, you have MEK fighters storming the palace walls. And in the middle, you have an 86-year-old dictator trying to hand power to his son Mojtaba amidst the chaos. The attack specifically targeted Mojtaba's office and residence as well. This is crucial. Mojtaba is the designated successor, the prince of the Islamic Republic. The opposition knows that if they kill the father and the son, the entire structure collapses. The message is clear. There will be no dynasty. There will be no succession. The signs of total collapse are everywhere. Regime-affiliated news outlets like Bolton News are openly asking, what has happened to us that the enemy now covets the heart of Tehran? They are admitting the vulnerability in public. This is unprecedented. Ambulances were seen rushing into the compound under heavy escort for hours. Schools in the Pasteur District were commandeered by security forces to use as bunkers, using children's classrooms as staging grounds for urban warfare. And perhaps most damning of all, the citizens of Tehran are hiding the rebels. Reports confirm that ordinary people are sheltering wounded MEK fighters, protecting them from IRGC death squads. They are risking their lives to hide the men and women who attacked the supreme leader. When the population protects the people shooting at the government is already dead. It just hasn't fallen over yet. Monday, February 23, 2026, will be remembered as the day the fear finally evaporated. The wall has been breached. The aura of invincibility is gone. The IRGC has 180,000 troops, but they couldn't stop 250 fighters from knocking on the supreme leader's door. A coup is no longer just a possibility, it is inevitable. The fissures inside the military establishment are widening. If a brigadier general or a colonel decides that the ship is sinking, the next attack won't come from the MEK outside the walls. It will come from the guards standing inside the room. What happens next will decide the fate of the Middle East. Will the IRGC fracture and turn on itself? Will the US intervene to finish the job? Share this video everywhere because the mainstream media is missing the biggest story of the decade. The battle for Tehran has officially begun. Stay tuned.